and he or she tries to implement that evil. This we can call relatively pure evil. Allah's intent is good. The act that we may see or the incident we may see may appear to us to be evil, but there is good behind it. Sometimes the good becomes very evident to us. Something happens to us and we say, oh wow, why did that happen, so and so? And then a day later, a few days later, we say, oh, we can see the good. That was really for this positive good thing. And other times it happens and we don't see the good. Time passes, we never see it. And this is what is in the lesson of Musa and Khidr. The lesson of Musa and Khidr in Surah Al-Kahf, this is what is in that story. Now some people mistakenly have taken from the story of Musa and Khidr that what we should learn from that is that we should follow our sheikhs, our peers, our spiritual guides and leaders without question. This is what they have an element that tries to promote this understanding. That's how we should be with our peer, our sheikh, right? And the example that they give commonly is that the murid or the follower should be with his sheikh like the dead body in the hands of those who are washing the body. The dead body, it has no will. The people washing the body turn it, they wash this side, they turn the other side, they wash it. That we should be with our sheikh like the dead body in the hands of those who are washing the body. But this is a mistaken understanding. Because neither is our sheikh or our peer or whatever equivalent to Khidr. Khidr, who was receiving revelation from Allah, nor are we equivalent to Prophet Musa, a prophet of Allah. So that analogy is totally irrelevant, is totally in error. That's the wrong analysis from it. The correct analysis is that behind calamities is good. The breaking of the boat, of course, when Khidr broke the boat started to sink. The owner of the boat would have said, why? Khidr, why did you do this? Just like Musa said, why did you do this? He would have felt very bad, his boat is broken. But then the king came down the river and was snatching everybody's boat, didn't take his boat because it was damaged. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. He could see the end results right away, shortly thereafter. The other example of killing of the boy, right? Relative to the parents of that boy, their child was murdered. Khidr murdered the boy. That's what they could see. They could see their child was murdered. Of course, Khidr informed Musa and informed us that based on revelation from Allah, he knew that, and based on Allah's instructions, he knew that that boy was going to grow up. His parents were righteous. And that boy was going to grow up and be a fitna for the parents to such a degree that they would have themselves fallen into kufr. So to protect them from the evil of the boy, which wasn't as evident at the time, he was only 10 or 12 years old. What was to come, you couldn't see it. He was just an innocent child. Allah took his life. Now for the parents, of course, Allah gave them another child, a girl. And this girl was righteous. And of course they would have appreciated their daughter. But they would have remained in their hearts until they died a sadness for the loss of their son. Isn't it? Their murdered son. They would still feel that loss. But of course on the day of judgment, when Allah judges things and explains to them, then they will realize that that loss, that which they thought was a loss, was a gain. You see? And that's the difference between the two. That is, comes out of that story. The story of Musa and Khidr. That there are certain things which will happen in our lives. We may have difficulty in understanding what is the rhyme and the reason behind these things. We can't see any. So the tendency for us is to say, this is bad. And, why Allah? Why did you do this? You start to question Allah. And this is, if you listen to the atheists, the leading atheists, people like Hawkins, right? J. Hawkins, the leading physicist who is all-time atheist, written books on time and how the world has no beginning, etc. If you listen to him, in the midst of all his atheist claims and statements, you will hear this little voice crying out, saying, why am I like this? Because he is a quadriplegic, in a wheelchair, twisted, he can't even hardly speak. And this happened to him in his 20s. He was fine. He grew up a young person. Then he had this debilitating disease which reduced him to a cripple, being pushed around in a wheelchair. He has this massive brain, but physically he is in the worst of shape. So what you hear crying out from him is, God, why did you do this to me? If there is a God, there is no reason for this to have been done to me. This is unfair. There are so many other people in the world. He visited India. He saw all these, 1 billion Indians there. The vast majority of them are not contributing what he is contributing, as far as he sees it. But they're healthy. And here is he with all this knowledge, and he's benefiting humankind, and he's in this shape. Why? Why me? There can't possibly be a God. Because of his inability to deal with tragedy, calamity. He cannot understand the good behind it. So therefore he ends up denying God's existence. And this is common. If you listen to most of the people who disbelieve, who deny God's existence, usually you'll hear this in their statements. I had an aunt when I was 8 years old. She was such a nice aunt. She was so kind to us. Then she had a car accident and died. Why? What did she do to deserve that? You see, from that comes disbelief in God. So, the principle of rububiyyah, understanding the creation of everything which exists, this gives us the foundation for understanding tragedy in life. To be able to recognize that there is good behind it all, even though we may not be able to perceive it. So, out of this comes obviously trust in God. Once one has that knowledge to realize that behind all of these things is good, then we are able to put our trust in God. Whatever happens in our lives, we realize that He is the one who controls it all, and it is ultimately